Am I the asshole for choosing not to go back to work and still send my child to daycare? My ex-husband and I got divorced back in October due to polyamorous relationship issues. Before I even go into the issue at hand, I will say he asked for the opening of our marriage and the normal thing happened. He had a string of partners, nothing really steady. I had the same partner for 2 years and they actually became good friends until we got divorced. After a long dry spell he asked for the divorce after giving me the ultimatum of drop my partner or we separate. I chose to separate because my partner treated me better than my husband. I was all he wanted. Unlike my husband wanting to open the marriage just to see what was out there, he made me feel like I was enough for him, see last parenthetical, and he took care of my daughter like she was his own. After the divorce, I moved out of the marital house, rented it to him with no strings attached at well below market rate. I moved in with my partner and we've been pretty well off since. We share custody of our daughter 1 week on 1 week off and we have a rotating pickup schedule from daycare. After I moved in with my partner, he proposed to me that for mental health reasons if I do not want to work I don't have to. I have passive income from military compensation so any money I get outside the house is just extra. So I took his suggestion. I haven't had a job since January of this year and all I do is take care of the house. I clean, mind the veggie garden, run errands, etc. He's been content with our arrangement and so have I. I feel like I have more mental bandwidth to properly give my daughter the attention she wants, needs because I'm not burned out at the end of the day like I had been when I was working. My ex-husband on the other hand doesn't like this at all. We had a meeting where I offered to sell him my house because I felt me being his landlord was going to cause issues within our co-parenting relationship later on down the road, so to head it off, I gave him first offer to buy it before I would put it on the general market. He snuck in asking when I was planning on going back to work and I answered him honestly saying with partner getting a promotion which came with a raise, I probably wouldn't be unless I really had to. He said that was kinda fucked considering that I'm basically a stay-at-home parent but our child still goes to daycare every day. I explained as briefly as possible that I chose to not go back to work for mental health reasons and having our daughter at home full-time would be counteractive of me not working. He said outright that, some would think, I'm an unfit parent for making that decision, so am I the asshole for still sending my kid to daycare even though I'm not working anymore? And #X200B. Too long did not read. Ex-husband called me an unfit parent because I'm choosing not to go back to work for mental health reasons, but our child is still in daycare full-time. Edit to add. A common question that is being asked is who is paying for daycare. According to our divorce decree we are both required to pay for 26 weeks of daycare throughout the year. So that means we are paying literally half and half. So that means even if I took her out of daycare, he would still have to pay for half of daycare due to him still working. I love when stories that begin with an emotionally abusive person coercing their partner to open up the relationship end with the partner safe and in a happy, healthy relationship. It's my favorite form of karma. Not the asshole. Your ex has no say over your household. He's your ex-husband. His opinion is irrelevant. Not the asshole. Good for you getting some personal time to yourself. Not the asshole. What your ex-husband wants you to do is none of your concern. You and your partner have your own life now and can make your own decisions. You've been more than generous with your ex and his living situation, but I agree that it's time to completely split your finances, the house, so the only thing you have to talk about is your daughter. Not the asshole. He comes off as being very jealous of your situation. Good for you. Would I be the asshole if I host a backyard movie night and show horror movies? Hi guys. So I thought this would be a harmless event, but I'm getting a few warnings and a bit of pushback from my family, so I figured I'd try and get some unbiased opinions. I'm turning 30 this month and I had an idea to rent a 18 feet inflatable screen to do a movie night in my backyard with friends and loved ones. The kicker, and what makes me feel like yeah I guess I could see me being an asshole, is that my favorite genre is horror. I'm talking seen all the movies, read hundreds of books, podcasts, the whole 9 yards. Love it. Everyone who knows me knows how much I love the entire genre. We live in a city on a nice older street and there are a few families with kids around us. I was considering just letting them know that I'd be doing this a couple weeks in advance, neighbors on all sides, so that if they had anyone at home they didn't want seeing the movies then they could make other plans or otherwise occupy themselves. The movies wouldn't start until dusk, which right now is after 8:45 p.m., and I'd planned to show 2 movies. I personally think if I warn them and let them know and am as considerate as I can be with the volume, then I wouldn't be the asshole. But others say that I shouldn't even try, and watching horror movies outside with neighbors is a lame thing to do. What do you think? If you were my neighbor, would you hate me? Is there another way I could go about this where less people would wish for my gory death? Tia for all opinions. ETA. I fully agree with all comments so far and respect your opinions. I know horror particularly is a polarizing genre, but also recognize that a lot of you wouldn't like your neighbors doing something like this in any genre. I want to add a couple things from questions I've gotten. 1. My timing, hope for 2 movies is absolutely a concern. I should have mentioned that my goal is to have it all done by 11 p.m. or shortly after, which would mean being open to a slightly earlier start, or one movie and 1 short. 2. I would be lying, and not posting here to get unselfish opinions, if I said I didn't think they'd be able to hear or see the screen if they had their windows open or were outside or looked through their upper story windows, though not 100% of them on this front. This is likely. I'm just not sure if that makes me ta. 3. This will be on a weekend, a Saturday night to be exact. 4. I have a completely respectful and cordial relationship with all neighbors. No issues thus far and have never done anything like this in the past. We are very respectful, and I don't want to see that change or to infringe on their comfort for my entertainment. That's why I'm asking this before I present the idea to them. I do see how I could be an asshole in this situation for sure, and that's what brought me to the post. 5. To be 100% clear, if any of my neighbors said no when I went around to ask, I would not move forward with the plan. The reason I am asking here is to see if it's truly black and white. If the majority of people would be PO'd, then I'm not going to bother them or risk annoying them for something they're very likely to oppose, and so I would scrap the idea without interrupting their respective days. If they're going to be able to hear it from their houses, you are the asshole. And given how late you're going to be going, I'd say that even if these were G-rated movies, no one wants to be kept up by your movie watching. Info. Where you intend to place the screen, is there some neighbors who can see it? Is there a place where neighbors won't see it? As long as you work things out with your neighbors, I think it's fine. Info. What are the movies? Not the asshole. I think as long as you earn your neighbors, you are fine. It's a one-off thing. We all put up with neighbor noise sometimes and have to be understanding. Am I the asshole for threatening to go to the police? Update. With the incredible response here, we have decided first contact the police within our hometown. We presented the issue along with all of the documentation that we have, and their recommendation was to have the plates flagged as lost, stolen, which has been done. It was also suggested to contact the local police for the buyer to report the vehicle specifically and to have them confiscate the plates. It will be up to their local PD to follow up on anything else that happened in the last 18 months. In the meantime, they are doing a search for any outstanding tickets assigned to the plate and will be contacting us with the results, if any. They do not believe that any further action is necessary on our part, unless there ends up being a lot of tickets that we do not know about. I retrieved my mail today to find that my wife received a bill from EZ-Pass from another state. I thought this was odd since our EZ-Pass account is in my name, so she had me open it up. It was a bill for a very small amount of money, under $15, for a video toll last month of a license plate that used to be in only my wife's name, but was cancelled back in 2021. We had sold her old car to a friend of my sister at the end of 2021. We ended up having to deliver it part-way for some reason. I do not recall exactly why that was. So we left the plates on the car so they could legally drive it home, and I informed them that I would be cancelling the registration the next day and that they needed to dispose of the plates. Turns out, they never did that, and have apparently been driving the car with those cancelled plates still on the car ever since. Fast forward a bit. We ended up getting in touch with the buyer, and they seem to be more surprised that we got a bill since they have an EZ-Pass, and they just want us to pay the bill and pay us back. They will not fess up to driving the car with our old plates still on it. They live a few states away, and none of us, including my sister, have seen them or the car since we sold it to them, so we have not naturally discovered that the plates are still on it until now. I do not want my wife to pay the bill, as it will be sort of like admitting that we still have this vehicle, which we do not, and that we are driving it well past expiration of registration, which we are not, and I feel like it would eventually come back and bite us in the end. I have already started the process of disputing the validity of the bill with the receipt from the plate cancellation. Back to my title inquiry. After some circular conversations between the new owner, my sister, and my wife, I finally put my foot down and gave them a choice. Either a. Return the plates back to us so that we can properly dispose of them and drop the whole matter, or b. We will contact their local police to report the vehicle as being operated with stolen and expired tags, and likely without insurance. They are now flipping out about how I have escalated this and how I am being a complete asshole about it. I have not yet contacted the police, nor have they committed to returning the plates to us either. Not the asshole. They are committing fraud at your expense. You should just call the police. They deserve to be nailed for their actions. Not the asshole, but don't give them too long to comply. If something happens and your wife's plates are on the car, they will most likely come after her. I'd give them no more than a week. It is not hard to remove plates. It makes me question if the car is still in your wife's name, because if they did a title transfer they usually do registration and plates at the same time. At least in my state. Not the asshole. You are correct that because they haven't gotten it registered in their state, your wife is still the owner of record. Which means she could have financial responsibility were they to cause an accident, etc. They've had 1.5 years. There's no excuse for them to not have registered it. Not the asshole, but report them immediately. You already know that they are driving with your plates to avoid legal liability for their motoring offenses. There is nothing to discuss. Info: what are the laws in your area about selling cars? Are you supposed to remove the tags and plate before the transaction is complete? Look that up before calling the cops. As well as any other information around the sale of cars. If you were supposed to remove plates and tags before did the sale, you also have the potential to be in legal trouble. I'm not saying to do nothing just to prepare for potential consequences. You may need to accept some consequences to get this resolved. Am I the asshole for cutting a long line when I was bleeding through my shorts? I was at a 4th of July celebration today. I was wearing white shorts for the occasion, and of course when I was dancing, I felt myself bleed through my tampon. I knew I didn't have long before it would start to show through my shorts. When I got to the women's bathroom, of course there was a massive line, and no line for the men's, that was probably about 30–40 people long. I announced to the entire line that I was having a girl emergency and asked if it was okay if I cut. I heard no objections, as well as people encouraging me to go forward. I did this 3 times down the line, including when I physically got into the bathroom just to make sure, and again heard no objections. I got into the stall, took care of my business, and while some blood did soak through my shorts, it wasn't enough to be noticeable. The second I got out of the stall, a woman with her what looked to be 5-year-old son, who had been farther back in line, began berating me for cutting in line. The first thing she said to me was, "Where's the blood? If it was such an emergency, then where's the blood?" She then went off about how I am an adult and there were children in line who had been waiting for a long time and I just cut in front of everyone, and that it was very rude of me to go. I tried to end the conversation multiple times because of how verbally aggressive she was being, but she would not stop and basically had me cornered in the bathroom berating me and saying I had no excuse and that I should have known better than to wear white shorts while on my period. While I personally don't think that the way she came at me was appropriate, I am wondering, am I the asshole for cutting the entire line to take care of my bleeding? Should I have just dealt with the consequences of my actions? Should I have known better to not wear white shorts? The action that I'm wanting to be judged for is me cutting the long line. And I think that I might be the asshole for being inconsiderate to all of the other people. Edit to add. A lot of people are saying that I should have told her off. Well, I kind of did. I tried to minimize the situation with her, but she was having none of it. So eventually I told her that her attitude and the way she was speaking to me was not influencing me all. She didn't care. And after continuously berating me, I asked her, "Do you want to look at my crotch?" And I lifted my leg. To which she responded, "No. There are children in here, no one wants to see that." And then I told her, "You asked." She continues to berate me, so as I was finally leaving and got around her, I ended with, "And this might make me a jerk. Your kids are going to grow up to be bullies." She shouted for me to shut up. So again, I'm not concerned with whether or not I was the asshole in the situation with her, because I do think clearly she was an asshole. I'm just wondering if I was the asshole with everyone else in line. Seems like the general census was that I was in the right. But next time I will be more prepared in wearing a panty liner and maybe not wearing white shorts during Shark Week. Not the asshole. You asked, and if it was such a big deal to her to approach a stranger asking about blood, then she should have spoke up when you asked to jump the line near her. Not the asshole. This is one of those times where you get a free pass to cut the line. It's called human decency. Not the asshole. You actively asked and had no objections. And you were being honest about your situation. She was being cranky and suspicious. Not the asshole you asked several times. Her time to object was before you went into the stall, not after. Also, it's really weird she wanted to see the blood. But as a heavy bleeder I never owned a pair of white shorts or pants. To avoid embarrassment, stick with dark colors obviously.